Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Keytime Sports. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports right here on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the keyonmillions.co. Here is my media feed. Here is my profile on Millions so that you will know it's me. Here is the merchandise. We just rolled out some new merchandise earlier this month, and we would like for you to go and purchase the shirts, compression shirts, and we have some hoodies that are available on the site. So, the topic at hand, it is day 3 of March Madness, and we have a schedule for today and tomorrow. But first, I'm going to get into the schedule for tomorrow. The very first game that we have on the docket for tomorrow is Santa Clara versus Kentucky. Now, this is going to be a close game, and as you can see, they have Kentucky as a 3.5 point favorite. I believe Kentucky is going to cover, and it's going to be a close game, but Kentucky is going to cover. Akron versus Texas Tech. Texas Tech, they've had a good season throughout the entirety of the season. They are a 7.5 point favorite. I got the Texas Tech Red Raiders winning this game. And basically, the first 4 games on this schedule is with big name colleges against not so big name colleges, colleges that are mid to low level colleges. And do they have a chance against a big time college? I don't believe so. And you could see this throughout all of this schedule for Friday. Long Island University versus Arizona. I got Arizona because they got Arizona by 30 and a half points. On Hard Rock Sports Bet, they got Arizona by 28 points. So it's not really it. There's no gray area here. We all think that Arizona is going to win, and Arizona, they just need to come out and handle business and not mess around, because you don't want to let a wounded dog get some momentum, because that wounded dog can rise up, and and that dog can pretty much steal the momentum in the form of your opponent, and you could lose the game. So that is who I got winning, Arizona. The next game I'm going to cover is Wright State versus Virginia. And when I talk about Wright State, I'm gonna go to their roster, because I know a lot of people don't know about Wright State. They are first in the Horizon Conference. We all do not know what the Rising Conference is, but the Rising Conference is a lower level conference. It's almost like a group of 5 basketball program. All of these group of 5 college basketball programs, they play, and Wright State Raiders happens to be one of them. So here's all who is all on their roster. Here is their head coach is Clint Sargent. Here are the Raiders statistics. Their top scorer is Michael Cooper at 13.4 points per game. Here's the per game statistics. Here are the season totals for their statistics. Now we get to, is this game going to be a blowout, or is this going to be a relatively close game? As we can see from where the sports books have this game, and I'm looking at DraftKings, and I'm also looking at Hard Rock Sports Bet right here on my phone and right there on my other laptop. And as of right now, they have the Virginia Cavaliers at 18.5 points. For tomorrow's game versus, they have Virginia on Hard Rock Sports Bet at 18.5 points. So pretty much the same exact thing, pretty much. So Virginia is going to win this game no matter what, but there could be an upset because this is March Madness and we don't know who's going to win. We don't know who's going to win. We are just predicting and hoping that our brackets fall into place, because I know that there are a lot of people. If it was up to me, my bracket would have already been messed up because I thought Prairie View was going to lose versus Lehigh, but they end up winning last night. So my bracket is already shot, America. Keytime Sports bracket for March Madness, it's already shot. I already done lost one game. So I'm gonna focus on this next game right here. Tennessee State versus Iowa State. Now, both of these teams, Iowa State, as you can see, and it's pretty much, when it comes to the point spread, it's pretty much the same exact thing on Hard Rock Sportsbet at 24.5 points and DraftKings 24.5. We can look at Vegas Insider. Can somebody please pull up Vegas Insider for me, guys? Vegas Insider has Iowa State at 23.5 points. So you got Vegas Insider, you got Hard Rock Sportsbet, you got DraftKings. Can somebody help me get FanDuel? Can one of y'all help me get FanDuel? Okay, FanDuel, it is 23, exactly. A 23-point favorite for Iowa State. Now for Tennessee State, another group of 5 school. As you look at their roster, first in the OVC, another group of 5 conference that plays teams like this. This is a HBCU, so I'm going to say one thing about HBCUs. We haven't had an HBCU team get as far in March Madness ever. We've never had an HBCU make it to the round of 32. Never had an HBCU make it to the round of 16, the Elite 8, the Final 4. All of those teams are usually out of the picture by the time the last week of March comes in. And we almost at the last week of March. Going into next week, that is the last week of March. So the Tennessee State Tigers roster, let's look at their roster. Head coach is Nolan Smith. I don't think that they're gonna be able to keep pace with the Iowa State Cyclones. I just don't, because when we look at it statistically, football program and basketball program, Tennessee State, they haven't played up to par when it comes to Power 4 schools. The Power 4 schools versus HBCUs and Group of 5 schools, historically, no matter what sport it's in, the Power 5 schools have always blown out the Group of 5 and the FCS schools. That's another conference. I'm just educating everybody. Now, we see where points production, Aaron Nakaruma is the top scorer for the Texas State Tigers. But this is when it comes to their conference. When you start playing teams out of conference like SEC, ACC, and other teams like that, let me not mention the Big 10, Big 12, and the Group of 5, also their other Group of 5 teams. Now, we all know that Tennessee State, as far as basketball production, we all know that they're going to lose this game. They should lose this game, but like I've been saying, this game is going to be a blowout. I would be surprised if Iowa State wins by just 12 points, because in the realm of possibility, a close game in March Madness is anything 15 points or lower. And I don't think that this is going to be a close game, because you got 24.5 points right here. And for also 24 points on all these other sports books. So Iowa State should win this game comfortably. The next game I am going to cover is Hofstra versus Alabama. Now, I got Bama all the way. I see where they have Bama as an 11.5 point favorite. They also have Bama as an 11.5 point favorite on Hard Rock Sports Bet right now. Well, excuse me, Hard Rock Bet. Now, one thing that I can say is we all know what comes with Alabama when it comes to their basketball program. I'm going to show you all their roster. Here is their roster. Their head coach is Nate Oates, and you do have Amari Allen, Jaleel Buffet, and Taylor Boyd Bowen. Statistics for Alabama Crimson Tide when it comes to their basketball. These are the per game statistics, and these are the season totals for Alabama. Now, y'all already know how I feel about Alabama. Alabama, when it comes to their basketball program, they should be able to beat any and everybody that they play in basketball because they already do that in football. But this is not the season to talk about football. I am going to save that when we get to late July and early August. That is when I'm going to talk about the Alabama football program. But right now, I am going to talk about the basketball program at Alabama. And Alabama, the basketball program has been doing pretty well over the past couple of years. Like the last 3 years, they've always made it to this point. I remember last year, Alabama made it to the round of 16, and they lost by 2 points to their opponent. And now they are still in the round of 64 because this is only day 3 of March Madness. But by the time we get to next week, they should be in the round of 32 and in the round of 16. But as of right now, I see Alabama winning this game. Let me tell you something. Pick Alabama to win this game and pick the spread. They gonna cover no matter what. The next game I am going to cover is Utah State and Villanova. And as I see that the point spread is not in Villanova's favor. Man, Las Vegas, what in the world are you doing favoring Utah State over Villanova? That's something that I got to look into, and I'm not going to waste any time. Villanova, let's see what their roster is like, because they were 24-8, third in the Big East. Now we see where the Villanova Wildcats, we see their roster. Their head coach is Kevin Willard, and we can see their statistics. Their leading scorer is Tyler Perkins at 13.7 points per game. Here is their per game statistics for Villanova, and here is their season totals for Villanova. But I still can't get over the fact that Utah State is a 1.5 favorite. Las Vegas, what are you doing? Are you trying to trick us? Because I believe that's what Vegas is trying to do. It's trying to predict an upset and trick the sports bettor because everybody is going to put money on Villanova in this game. But as we can see when it comes to the Utah State Aggies, let's see how good the Utah State Aggies have been. First, they were first in the Mountain West back in the regular season at 28-6. Now we get to their roster. They're led by Drake Allen, Tucker Anderson, Jordy Barnes, Brandon Bowe, and their roster goes on and on. Their head coach is Jared Calhoun. Let's see these statistics. The statistics for these guys. MJ Collins Jr. is the leading scorer for the Utah State Aggies at 17.6 points per game. Let's look at their schedule. And as we can see, they started off on an 8-game winning streak, lost to South Florida on December 4th, lost to Grand Canyon January 17th, lost to UNLV on January 20th, and then for a good three weeks, they did not lose until they played Nevada, San Diego State, and then they lost to UNLV again. And we get to how they finished the season. They won versus Nevada and won versus San Diego State. And then let's fast forward to today, present day. But this game, the game that I'm talking about, will be played on tomorrow. Do we really think that Utah is going to upset Villanova, one of the matriarchs in college football? Because we all know that, I'm going to tell y'all something. The teams that have always been in the mix over the past 15, 20 years, Villanova, UConn, Gonzaga, and also there have been teams where you've had Cinderella stories, but Kansas is also another one that has always been in the mix when it comes to college basketball in March Madness. So one thing that I could say, I'm going to take Villanova. I'm going to go against the grain. The next game I'm going to cover is Miami of Ohio. All you Miami fans, Miami of Ohio fans, last night you won. You did. You won. And it was just by the grace of the college basketball gods that you play Tennessee tomorrow. Now, the Volunteers, I got the Volunteers winning this game because hold on, wait. I got to really analyze this game because when we look at Miami of Ohio, you see a team where they were pretty much virtually undefeated all throughout the regular season. They win last night. They're 32-1. And then you run into a team in Tennessee where Tennessee really didn't light up the scoreboard like we thought coming into this season. As you can see, the Volunteers roster, basketball roster, you see Rick Barnes as their head coach, and we also see where, when it comes to their statistics, we see where Jacoby Gillespie, he averages 18 points per game. Now, I wanna ask all you Miami fans out there a question. Do you really think that you're gonna beat an SEC team? Credit. This is March Madness. Anything lying to happen, but Miami of Ohio has never beaten an SEC team in March Madness before. Never beat them. Now, is history, are they going to change history going into tomorrow? Or is Tennessee going to be able to win this game and go on to the round of 32? Maybe Tennessee can win, and maybe Miami of Ohio shocks everybody and wins over Tennessee. But I got Tennessee in this game. Tennessee is the favorite on all sports books, on FanDuel, DraftKings, Hard Rock Sportsbet, Las Vegas Insider. Pretty much any sports book that you have, the Tennessee Volunteers are favored. Now let's get to the next game that is on the schedule. Iowa versus Clemson. I don't think Clemson is going to win this game because Iowa, we all know that Iowa, they have a better men's basketball program than, football, because the whole University of Iowa, it's all about basketball. They don't really have a good football team. So Iowa is a basketball school. Clemson is really a football school. So Clemson, they lucky to get here. They are lucky to get here. Clemson, they had a good season. As you can see, their record was 24-10, fourth in the ACC. But outside of Iowa, I just don't see Clemson getting to the round of 32. Now, Iowa, they are a slight favorite at 2.5 points, and that is the same exact thing that I see on Hard Rock Sportsbet at 2.5 points. Iowa and FanDuel. Guys, can you put up FanDuel for me? 3. A 3-point favorite. Iowa's a 3-point favorite on FanDuel. So you have your sports book. Place your bets accordingly, people. Make sure that you keep your March Madness NCAA brackets intact, because mine after last night, after what Prairie did to Lehigh, it's pretty much done. It's pretty much cooked, as they say. Now let's look towards the next game, 12th Northern Iowa versus St. John's. Now this game is gonna fall by the wayside. Not too many people is gonna watch this game because it's not two big colleges. You got one small college, and then you have a mid to upper level college. But St. John's is going to win this game because Northern Iowa, outside of bad efficiency, and we can see when we look at their record, bad efficiency, they were 23-12, but we all know that. I'm going to just let's pull up their schedule. All of these wins that they got was against really subpar competition because Cal State Northridge, they won in a blowout. South Dakota State, they won a tight game. Furman, they won. Northern Illinois, they also won. And you can also see where in the midway point of the season, they went on a 5-game losing streak, but that did not hurt them at that point in time. And the last few games, basically the last 5 games to end the season, they are currently on a 5-game winning streak. They are, but I don't see the Northern Iowa Panthers winning over St. John's. I just don't, because if anybody knows how St. John's plays when it comes to this time of the year, the last 3 years, St. John's has always beat the teams that they were favored by. And one year, they were underdogs, and they ended up beating the favorite. They ended up beating the opponent that they were facing were the favorites, and they ended up beating them. So I got St. John's winning this game. Next game on the schedule is UFC versus UCLA. Now, UCLA is a 5.5-point favorite in this game. The UCF, pretty much, a decent season, 21-11, 7th in the Big 12. UCLA, another team that has been one of the most consistent teams within the past 5 years because they always make it to March Madness. They do. But one thing I can say about the UCLA Bruins is UCLA Bruins are a basketball school and they're not really a football school. So when we see the UCLA Bruins roster, Mick Cronin is their head coach. We look at their statistics for UCLA Bruins, and Tyler Bedeau is the leading scorer. He's 17.6 points per game. And like I said, hey, a lot of people think that is average, but it's above average for UCLA because over the years I've seen players on UCLA, they will average 12 to 13 points, but somebody that is almost averaging 18 points per game for the UCLA Bruins it's a huge plus. Now, do I think UCLA is going to make it all the way to the Elite Eight? Heavens no. I don't think that. I don't even think that UCLA is going to make it to the Sweet 16. And the Sweet 16, that happens in another week and a half. But there's a lot of movement that is going to happen between now and April 3rd when it comes to the round of 16. Now I see where UCLA is also favored. UCLA 5.5 points, but it opened up. Let me see. It opened up at. Let's see. This opened up at 6.5. So one thing, Las Vegas is expecting a much closer game. Because I always say this, if Las Vegas opens up at a 7 or 8 point favorite, and then it drops down to 4 or 5, the game is going to be much closer than what everybody is thinking. So I got the UCLA Bruins winning this game and going on to the next round. Queen's University and Purdue is the next one. I am not going to give y'all a deep analyzation of that game because Purdue is a 25.5 point favorite. So I'm not going to do that. The next team on the list is Prairie View A&M and my Florida Gators. The Florida Gators are about to go and repeat. I'm guaranteeing that. The Florida Gators are going to win the basketball championship. And in the words of Charles Barkley, guarantee. Okay, now let me get to the roster of the Florida Gators. Now, this is what I've been waiting on for the past, I'm going to say 72 hours. I've been waiting to cover the Florida Gators because Florida Gators are the reigning, defending college basketball champions, and they are pretty much on their way to another championship, a repeat. But here is the roster for the Florida Gators. Head coach is Todd Golden. Let's see the statistics for the Florida Gators. Florida Gators, Thomas Huff is the leading scorer at 17.1 points per game. Here is their per game statistics for the Gators. Here is their season totals for the Gators. Now, one thing I want to say is congratulations to Prairie View on getting a win last night versus Lee High. I didn't think that Prairie View would win, but obviously, I'm going to just tell y'all this. Y'all about to get y'all tails tore out the frame messing with my Gators. Y'all go have, hey, pack it up. Hey, Prairie View, pack it up and go on back to wherever y'all located at. Because Florida, they coming out here to handle some business. They down in Tampa. Florida is going to win this game. I wouldn't be surprised if Florida covers. But Florida, they trying to make it to the Final Four and win the championship. Prairie View, your Cinderella story, ain't going to be no Cinderella stories in this March Madness tournament. I can guarantee it. So I got Florida winning that game. The next game I got is California Baptist versus Kansas. Kansas in that game. Furman versus UConn. What did I say about UConn earlier in the show, everybody? I said there were 4 teams that are always in the mix when it comes to March Madness that have a chance at winning a championship. UConn, Kansas, Gonzaga, and the other team, Villanova. Villanova is always a shoo-in for the championship, no matter what. So I got UConn winning this game. The last game that is on the docket for tomorrow night is Missouri versus Miami. I would not be surprised if Missouri won this game. I wouldn't. But one thing I am going to do, I am going to go for Missouri in this game. I am. I'm going to go against the grain because Miami's basketball team, they have been good. They have, but Miami, they haven't made it past the second round of March Madness in a while. And I'm thinking towards the point to where Miami has always been a football school and not a basketball school. So I got the Missouri Tigers winning this game tomorrow night. Now, since I covered Thursday's matchups yesterday, I'm just going to go through a rough list and I'm going to give y'all a refresher of who I picked for today's games. Now, the first game that is on the list is TCU versus Ohio State. That is going to happen at 12:15 in just a matter of 3.5 hours. I got Ohio State winning this game. Troy versus Nebraska. Got Nebraska. South Florida versus Louisville. I got Louisville. High Point versus Wisconsin. Got Wisconsin. Duke versus Siena. I got Duke in a landslide. McNeese versus Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt. North Dakota versus Michigan State. I got Michigan State. Hawaii versus Arkansas. Arkansas. VCU versus North Carolina. I got North Carolina. Howard versus Michigan. Michigan. Texas versus BYU. AJ DeBonza, he is going to ball out tonight, and I got BYU Cougars. Texas A&M versus St. Mary's. I got Texas A&M. I'm going to go against the grain. Pennsylvania versus Illinois. I got Illinois. St. Louis versus Georgia. I got Georgia. Kennesaw State versus Gonzaga. What did I say earlier about Gonzaga? They will always be in the fold when it comes to March Madness. I got Gonzaga. Kennesaw State, they don't have a chance. And the last game on the docket for tonight, this is for Thursday, March 19, 2026 at 9:31 p.m. Idaho versus Houston. I got the Houston Cougars winning this game. And with that, those are my predictions for today's games and tomorrow's games. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Keytime Sports on YouTube, Key City Sports on Instagram, and the keyonmillions.co. Here is our merchandise. I'm going to let y'all get a good look of these shirts and compression shirts and these hoodies. Letting y'all have a good look. Here is my profile so that you will know it's me. And here is my media feed. And remember, tomorrow I won't be covering March Madness. I'm going to be doing an NBA segment tomorrow, and that is going to finish out the week. So everybody, and I do mean everybody, good luck in your March Madness brackets, and let's see if anybody has a perfect bracket after this weekend. And remember, everybody, one last thing, the key is always on time.